So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Roma Theory. We're back with transfer news today. We spoke about the Inter game yesterday, just because I think our mindset and the players' mindset, the players' attention needs to shift to Saturday's match. But as I said at the end of yesterday's live stream, the fact that Mourinho got a red card against Atalanta, one, doesn't mean means that he won't be sitting on the bench for the game against Inter Milan. And also, it probably means that he will not go live for his press conference. Therefore, today is good to talk about transfer news because today apparently we have many Roma sources saying apparently that Mourinho has asked Thiago Pinto, right, in these next couple of transfer windows, if this will happen in January or if this will happen in June, it's very early to say so. But apparently Mourinho has asked Thiago Pinto for an expensive defender. Now, what does that mean? That means to spend money to buy a defender, and spending money, the players which you see will be linked with, not linked with, but which are potential ideas to satisfy Mourinho's request, or players which are pretty expensive. We're not talking about free agents just like we did for the majority of this summer. These are all players in which their value jumps around the 30 million number to the 40 millions. It's quite a lot of money, but apparently Mourinho wants that solid defender, I think, to place next to Smalling. Now, that doesn't mean that Mourinho doesn't like Ibanez and Mancini. I think, out of the two, I definitely think Mourinho likes... you see, Ibanez and Mancini are two players which I think grew a lot with Mourinho. Mancini is one of the players which Mourinho just loves having in his team. One of those players, aggressive players, bastard players. And Ibanez, we've seen Ibanez go from a very, very, very academy player from Atalanta to getting a call-up in Brazil in this international break. So, Mourinho definitely helped Ibanez when it comes to this. But obviously, Mourinho can't hide the fact that, he can't hide the fact that Smalling is the best defender. And Smalling, obviously, as much as he's a great player, is obviously coming towards the end of his career. Not to sound so dramatic, but unfortunately it is. So I think Mourinho is already thinking about, obviously, short term, placing a solid defender next to Smalling. But thinking onto the long term as well, when Smalling retires, we need a solid defender. And this is where I think we need to invest good money in the defensive section. And you see the two players which are linked today are two very, very, very young players. So it definitely puts in practice a kind of looking towards the future kind of move. And again, as you probably saw from the title, the two players which Thiago Pinto is investigating around are Timber from Ajax and Ndika from Eintracht Frankfurt, which we already talked about. First impressions: large competition, large European competition, and this is gonna be a hard deal. With a matter of words, I can easily say that this will be a very hard deal. If it will be Timber, if it will be Ndika, if it will be none of these two, and then maybe potential other candidates, I don't know. But this move, this defensive move, this expensive defensive move, which Mourinho has asked for, will be a hard move. Because, when you spend a lot of money, on one player, it means that the competition around this player is very, very, very high. So just to give you an example, just to keep it on the two candidates which we have right now, Timber is followed by clubs like Manchester United. He was very close in signing for Erik ten Hag, in fact. Clubs like Bayern Munich. Ndika Juventus are really interested in Ndika as well. Arsenal, I've read, are interested in Ndika. These are players which a lot of teams are interested in. Now, does that mean that Roma gets completely knocked out of this competition battle? Some people can say yes, some people can say no. My answer is no. My answer is no because I think the Mourinho effect is very important, 100%. But also, we have seen with the Fredkins this kind of relationship where Mourinho asks for someone. Over the course of this summer transfer market, it kind of worked like this. Mourinho presented a name, and the Fredkins, 80% of the times, satisfied Mourinho. He asked for Dybala, and he got Dybala. He asked for Belotti, and he got Belotti. He asked for Gini, and he got Gini. Yes, he wanted another defender, but obviously with Gini's injury and all of this, we had to buy a replacement for Gini and all of that. But, no one can say that Mourinho didn't get satisfied in this summer transfer window. Because at 80% of the times, he asked for a player, and the Fredkins moved to satisfy him by giving him that player. So again, we are seeing a new side to Roma in transfer windows with the Fredkins, sitting on the throne. We are definitely seeing owners which are more open to satisfying the manager. Now that doesn't mean that these deals will be easier. These deals will be very hard. Any deal, and I'm not just speaking about Timber and Dika. These are just candidates which Mourinho has presented some names. Nothing is confirmed yet, but obviously right now, what does Mourinho do? He presents some names. And then Thiago Pinto grabs information. No, that guy is way too expensive. No, that guy's physical condition isn't great. Okay, maybe let's invest a lot of money on a defender. Let's buy that guy. Mourinho presents the names and Thiago Pinto goes on investigations. That's how it works. So it's very early to say, we're very close to him, or we're very close to him, or he has rejected us, or anything like that. Because we're still in basically October. Let's say we're in October. We're basically only in October. So it's very early to say anything, but the summer transfer window has shown us that we can expect big names coming. We've seen this. We have literally seen this from this transfer window. We can see it happen. Now, one thing which I will say is, which people are probably asking, will this expensive defender, which Mourinho has personally asked for, happen in January? In the January transfer window, or in the summer? My honest answer is I think it will be in the summer. One reason why I don't think it will be in January is because big moves don't happen in January, as I've always said, but big players don't want to move away from their teams in January, especially when you're speaking about Ajax or Eintracht Frankfurt, who are in the Champions League. And if they go on, these players want to continue at least until the very end of the season. So that doesn't mean that in January we won't buy anyone. I think we will buy a defender in January. I think it's almost confirmed that we will buy a defender in January. Remember Mourinho's kind of in the last few days of the transfer market, really putting that pressure on Thiago Pinto to just get that one last player in, which obviously didn't happen. So I think it's basically confirmed that we will buy a defender in January. But it will be a defender to improve the squad depth and to add another player to the list. I don't think the big, expensive signing in the defensive section will be in January. I way more think, I think it's going to happen in the summer. Which obviously, you've got more... You see, it's early to talk about this, 100%. But I'm going to put you an example, right? A what if statement. What if Chelsea trigger that buyback clause with Roma for Tammy? I'd be sad because I love Tammy, and you probably understood this. But we get 75 million euros out of that. So that definitely adds more chances of us getting a big player. If that will be in attack as a replacement of Tammy or in the defense, I don't know. Mourinho does want a defensive player, an expensive, solid defensive player. But a lot of things can happen. So I think, again, the two players are Timber, who's 21 years old, he's valued around 45 million. That's a lot of money. And the other player is Ndika, which we already talked about. Now, the situation with Ndika is very different to the situation with Timber, for the simple reason being that Ndika has actually said no to renewing his contract with Eintracht Frankfurt. And just to give you a quick statement, which I found on Twitter, let me put this on, as you can read that. It says, there is no agreement between Eintracht Frankfurt and Evan Ndika. The centre-back's contract expires in June 2023, but he could leave in January. Juventus, AS Roma, and 2 English clubs have already shown an interest in him. And that's coming from Nicolo Schiro, which is a very actually unbiased and just a good source. So yeah, situation is very different when it comes to Ndika, because if we want him in January, we need to pay the money, but we could also use him prioritizing a move from Eintracht Frankfurt and not wanting to renew his contract to lower the value down. If we want to buy him in the summer transfer window, we could even get him on a free agent, and that completely revolves and completely, turns against what Mourinho is asking for, which is an expensive player. But I don't think Mourinho will be mad at Thiago Pinto if he gets him Evan Ndika. So you see, a lot of things need to be clarified. A lot of things can happen which can make us change idea and all of that. But the situation right now, October 2022, Mourinho has asked Thiago Pinto, maybe in January, even though I think it's going to be very hard, if not this summer, to buy a good, solid defender to add next to Smalling and to also think about the future. And I think it's important to do that because it's kind of... obviously, we need other players to create a fantastic team. But this summer, the big hit was Dybala, our creative midfielder. Maybe in January, or if not, the next objective is grabbing a player like Dybala, but in the defensive section. So, many things can happen. And as I said before, it's very early to think about transfer news, but it's always good to mention transfer news and what is going on behind the scenes in Thiago Pinto's office each day. So this is definitely today's update. But I've got two more. I've got one last thing to say, which is another official statement from Roma speaking about the Japan tour November 2022 in a couple of months. It is confirmed it will happen. It got confirmed today. So yeah, during the World Cup international break, the Roma will fly to Japan for a little 1-week tour, just to train, to keep that fitness going, and they will fly to Japan the 22nd of November, where it will land in a city called Nagoya, where the 25th of November they will play against Nagoya Grampus, which is a Japanese team at the Toyota Stadium. And then the 28th of November, we will play against the Yokohama F Marinos in the Japan National Stadium in Tokyo. So yeah, that is an update when it comes to the Japanese tour, which is confirmed. It will happen in November, the 22nd of November until the 29th of November. And it got confirmed today. Also, good news. Tammy Abraham got his braids off. Roma posted a picture of him training today. And his braids are finally off, ladies and gentlemen. Tammy without braids is a completely different player. Options will depend on top four. Spot on. That's another thing which I completely forgot to mention. 100%. Top four is potentially the most important thing. We've seen this summer many players were skeptical in joining Roma because we weren't in the Champions League. So top four will definitely help a lot. But we've also seen how Mourinho is good in convincing players just because of the image Mourinho is. So yeah. Let's read some comments and then I'll end the stream. Deco would be another Ibanez-like signing. Defensively sound, tall, athletic, good recovery skills, and very young. Already an Europa League winner. We need him. Good for many years. Get him in January, otherwise the Premier League clubs will outbid us on a free signing come next summer. Juventus are interested. Hopefully Jose has been ringing in constantly. That's definitely something which Jose has done. Mancini is a big mouth, only not good enough. We should bring a well-rounded midfielder, not waste money, says Marko Galovic. I'd love to get 80 million for Tammy and buy a better striker. You know, I'm against that. I mean, everyone has their own opinions. I'm against that, and I'll explain why in 2 minutes. Now, I'm not sure if... I mean, you probably... If you don't know, I'm 17, right? And I don't know why, but... you know, the fact that the Europa Conference League win was the biggest trophy which I've seen my team win in my lifetime span. I know Tammy was a big part of that. I just fall in love with these players. You know, Tammy is the player as well as other players as well, but Tammy will be one of the players which I will talk about to my children when I grow up. That is why I will be devastated if Tammy Abraham leaves. And it kind of works like this in any club. You know, your club wins a trophy and the player who was a big part of that, you fall in love with him. So Tammy missing chances, Tammy not playing well, in my opinion, he definitely needs to improve 100%. But seeing Tammy away from my team, it's gonna be hard. So that's why I'm saying I want Tammy to stay forever. Just because, similar example to Nainggolan. Nainggolan was my idol when I was 12 years old, because he played for him like 4 years ago. Yeah, you get the point. He is my idol right now. I grew up with Nainggolan playing as a gladiator in that midfielder. So the fact that I've seen the first ever trophy lifted by my team and Tammy Abraham was arguably one of the best players in that tournament, it's going to be hard for me if he leaves. But I guess, you know, it definitely depends on your age. You know, if you've been a Roma fan for so long, then Tammy is absolutely no one to you. But you see, that kind of explained the kind of bond which I get with players which give it their best, because, you know, Tammy, the love which he's shown to the club, to the fans, is something which I'll never forget. Getting Dika is not a waste of money. Our centre-backs then will be in place for years. Can we talk about other potential options? Other potential options right now, we'll definitely talk about them, but right now, it's very early. We don't know. Mourinho doesn't know. Thiago Pinto doesn't know. The two candidates which Mourinho has presented to Thiago Pinto are Ndika and Timber. And options will be... Oh yeah, I read that. Ndika would be perfect. I would be so happy if we get him. If we do in the future, I see Ndika left back, Mancini centre back, Ibanez right back. That trip can shine for years. If we lose Tammy, Belotti will take over, and then we should try for Fratesi to add speed in our midfielder. So back in deal seems done. One thing which I will say, if Tammy leaves, if Chelsea trigger that buyback clause, we are not going to start with Belotti. And because I think with the money we get from that Tammy deal, if we then start with Belotti, it's just terrible, because we could use a lot of money to buy a good striker. I'm not saying Belotti isn't a good striker, but I think Belotti is more of a second striker, if you see what I mean. So if I have to say mine, if we lose Tammy, I do not want to see Belotti start, because I think we can buy better players with the money we get from that deal. Enough of Tammy potentially leaving Roma. I'm done with it. I don't want to think about it. But yeah. Tammy can score goals with his hair. It's free. Let's go. I love Tammy, just having some fun. Tammy does so much more than score. I agree, people are too dismissive about Tammy. Right, ladies and gentlemen, I will catch you tomorrow with another update. Actually, let me think about it. tomorrow's actually my cousin's birthday. So, anyways, if I don't catch you tomorrow, I'll catch you on Saturday, which is the live watch along. So yeah, stay tuned for that. If you haven't tried it, make sure to smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, follow me on Instagram over there in the orange box. Yeah, let me know in the comments your impressions of this desire of Mourinho to get an expensive, experienced, solid defender from the transfer market. And has asked Thiago Pinto to do so. So yeah, I'll catch you soon. Simon out.